This morning, the day, or this afternoon began with Deborah giving you a glimpse of what we're doing, at least in Asia, in terms of a lot of the technologies that you've heard today. You know, blockchain and the mobile phone and stores where you just go walk in, etc. What I'd like to try and do, if I can go back, is slightly change the discussion by, again, part of the discussion is who's the customer. All right. Now, there has been an assumption all through today that the customer is a human being. And so what we've been doing in Hong Kong is looking at the world of data, all this rich data that's being gathered by all these sensors, and trying to figure out how not only to lend to a machine, which was Monday's discussion that I presented at the Digital Money Forum, but also the future of manufacturing, the future of trade, and the future of retail. So what I would like to try and do is provide my takeaways from today's discussion, and also try and bookend this morning, because I'm the last speaker, right? So this morning you heard about all these great companies in China that, because of the ease of electronic payment through Alipay or WeChat Pay, that's unlocked a completely different ecosystem, a completely different kind of infrastructure, where even so-called the beggars have a barcode that they can stand to route payment. So what I'm going to focus on today is the machine-to-machine economy, with a very simple takeaway that in this world that we're building, it should be my data, my money, my rules. And that's why I asked the question early on about privacy, because whose data is it anyway, right? Now you're going to have to say, oh, trust me in terms of the secure element inside the hardware, or trust me, I'm a platform provider, I won't get hacked. Well, we've kind of heard that story before. So as we build a democracy of devices, the real fundamental question is that data has tremendous value. Where does that value flow to? Does that value flow to the platform? Or does that value flow to the micro SME? So the reason why this is important is because, well, you know, in the Internet of Things world, as was mentioned, the handbag is talking to the fridge, right? The handbag is talking to the washing machine, saying when it's going to need to be washed, it's going to reorder the detergent, etc., etc. We're having machines talk to machines, and arguably there are going to be 50 billion of them at some point in time, by 20x. And that's going to be augmented, and that's going to be training these AI systems that are going to be making the decisions. So how do you lend money to an AI, for example? How is the AI going to make this good, judicious use of its resources? Now, there's only going to be only 10 billion of us, humans. So the real question is, in the future of retail, is it really us? Is it really human beings? How do we maintain in the loop when it's our data that is being mined? Are they really selling to us when we're just one supplier on one of these platforms? Is the real future of trade being a sort of a bat with fangs, right? Sucking blood out of the economy? I don't think so. I think there's a very different one, partly because of the blockchain world that we're saying. So as some of you know, I'm part of the Hong Kong delegation here. I'm the chief architect of the Belt and Road blockchain. The Belt and Road is a large infrastructure project involving 65 economies for, in some sense, the future of trade between China and Europe. Now, in thinking about how to design that blockchain, what I've had to do is look back at not only the future of manufacturing, right? Why sell anything that hasn't been bought? Right? When you click on something, you've got a cash flow there, then go make it. The era of putting stuff which on big containers, which may or may not get sold, and dumping them on the price market when it doesn't, is over. Why? Because the Belt and Road blockchain is seeded with one idea and one idea only, and that is provable sustainability. Right? In the world of Paris Agreement, of which I hope the US rejoins, I heard something good news yesterday, then the whole question is, with all this blockchain technology and all the sensors grabbing data, is it just going to be references, right? That this thing is supposedly green? No, we don't do that in the blockchain world. We say, prove it to me, show me the provenance, that in fact that isn't a blood conflict diamond, that cotton did come from X, that the carbon footprint for training this AI meets your national Paris Agreement commitments, or even local commitments. So this whole concept of provable sustainability, we worked backwards and said, well, look, that's going to change the way we ship things. That's going to be what is being shipped. Are we shipping bits on containers? Or are we shipping atoms in terms of design and making it and changing from supply chains to demand chains, right? So my Harvard Business Review article last March, you can go look at some of that worldview. That also changes the nature of who gets to design and who gets to settle the payment. So in the end, what is the end game here? Now, I would say what the world we might be moving into could be classified as surveillance capitalism. I'm sorry for the harsh words. Or you can swap out the capitalism, you can say it's surveillance socialism or whatever ism it is. But the fact of the matter is you're getting data. Some of it is very private data. I met someone next door who's making a smart bra, right? More personal than you than something else, right? So in all of this stuff, it's actually your data that is being monetized. It's your data that's being aggregated by some of these online platforms. And it's your data that is giving the insights into these trends. Now, I would say it's all about the data. It's all about delivery, right? What we've looked at is in terms of this complete worldview built around you, right? Not the shoplifting economy, right? But the lift shopping economy, right? You heard of a bingo box, right? You just go walk in there, it recognizes your face. All the products are there, probably what you already knew or wanted. You just take it and go, right? I call that lift shoppers. They just walk in, they lift it and go. The only difference is that there's a payment made, right? It's not shoplifting. But that whole store knows everything about you. Panasonic knows and has metered the time that you've lingered in the window, where your route is to the store, what you've looked at. All of that data is trying to predict what you're going to buy next. Now, the bad news or the good news is that human beings, we're creatures of habit. Right? I like to get up in the morning, I like to have my coffee first, and blah, blah, blah. And so buying habits, once you've unpacked them, they're pretty stable. Now, once you can predict what the person's going to buy, then I'm going to sell you this, right? The example this morning was, do I sell you, if you bought one paintbrush, or do we sell you more brushes, or do I give you an art class? So it is really about all this ecosystem design, but it's not just about retail. Retail is in some sense at the end point. Retail to humans and retail to machines. Now, I'm talking about the machine one because it's important, because that data that is being gathered, in my opinion, when we move to a democracy of devices, does need to be privacy respecting. And I don't really get a good sense here that this future that we're colliding into is one that I would want my grandchildren to live in. Right? This grab and go, this filter bubble, but in personal devices. Right? So I think we're all lift shoppers now. Right? The system will know what you've looked at, it will know your habits. If you bought the wrong product, it will affect your score on someone else's social rating. Right? Alibaba has a wonderful, what did Alibaba say when he opened the doors? He said, open sesame, right? So the social scoring systems and how you influence is going to be by referral, right? It's not going to be direct. And so one would say that there needs to be a real new, I heard transparency is really, really important, but I also want to hear the word privacy. Trust us, we'll anonymize your data. Oops, we got hacked, right? And there was a thing about trusting hardware. Well, last Wednesday, we had probably the biggest disclosure about a hardware bug, right, called Heartbleed. 20 years of silicon can be potentially compromised. Another one in terms of, again, what kind of thinking mistakes can we avoid when we build this new economy? Not just retail to humans, but retail to machines. Because if we can avoid, they say that smart people fix problems, they say genius avoids them. So what problems can we avoid by building privacy into the mix? Well, sorry, that should say big brother, right? Big bro, brother, right? Are we really moving into that world where it's just about selling you stuff? Is it really that banal that we're developing all this technology just to sell you something better, faster, cheaper? I think not. Now in Hong Kong, we think this thing is a change in architecture, right? No one rings a bell when the architecture changes. It's a big pivotal moment, and it's sort of change in assumption. Right? Now, we're middlemen, we're a major port, but we're maybe destroyed by this tech called blockchain. So the Belt and Road blockchain was an attempt to try and reason about what are the negative and positive effects that could be with this tech, right? In this pivotal moment when we're changing architecture from centralized systems to decentralized. So let me give you some example. The previous business world was very simple. You just go and divide and conquer, right? You split it down the middle, you attack one side, you take one address, and that's it. The last 20 years has been all about connecting, the opposite, and liberating the value, Right? Some of you know I introduced the internet with Bob Coggeshall, who was a US citizen, in Hong Kong in 1993. So over the last 20-some years, it's all about understanding that there's this big change. It's no longer about divide and conquer. It's about connecting everything together in some way. Now, for those of you who know, this is the processing system for a mortgage. It looks like a circuit board. Because as systems age, they get more and more complex. So China now has a very good opportunity to redesign white sheets, like the Belt and Road blockchain, a completely new, highly simplified architecture to avoid, again, this complexity. Because there's a cost involved with that. And that cost, previously, in the era of long-distance telephone, if you remember, there was a hidden assumption. You pick up the phone, you dial long distance, you bleed money. Right? Distance equals cost. And if you understood that the internet would destroy that equation, you could have made a lot of money, and some of us did, in the internet world. So looking back, if this pivotal moment is another internet, where's the value going to be? Right? Because if you know what assumption is going to be destroyed or what the new ones are, you're going to own the future. Don't talk to me about the past. One of these assumptions is if we just build a firewall high enough, the moat wide enough, will be secure, right? Centralized is secure. And that is strong. You know, we've had Equifax, we've had Target being hacked. We'll probably have one of these large online service providers with billions of user personal data. Right? Personal data is like nuclear material. Right? You aggregate it in one place, bad stuff happens. I would say that with the centralized right now is also another assumption that you need to centralize in order to have a total addressable market that's big enough for you. And digital destroys that because your customers can be anywhere. Right? Not only does distance not equal cost, I can sell online anywhere in the world, but also I can create micro markets for the micro SMEs. The one I like the best is in Hong Kong, because we're a major financial center, right? I was born with this one equation in my brain. Time is money, right? With Bitcoin, no, data is money. Bitcoin is an example. I'm a big fan of Bitcoin, scaling Bitcoin and all of that. Data equals money. For the very first time, an algorithm has generated data that human beings value. Right? That's new. But that's only the beginning, as basically Phil has covered. I would say the data is money. The big one that you will need to understand today is the thing about we all want to look at the future of payments. Right? Even the hands here today saying which one of you use an online payment mechanism wasn't 100%, which I'm a little bit surprised with. But most of these payment systems are, I would call, pull payment systems. You give them your credit card, you give them your debit card, you give them an account number, and when you make an online purchase, they pull money out of your bank account. And sometimes they make mistakes, there's fraud, what have you, but the money's gone. Now the changing assumption here is that that direction is going to change from pull to push. Now, we're trying to complement this legal certainty, because Hong Kong, we believe in the rule of law, with cryptographic certainty. I don't have a blockchain, but I have a lockchain. Now, for those of you who know, on Monday, I gave the keys to Michael Casey. Unfortunately, I never got them back. He had to leave them at the hotel concierge in this envelope. And if I do this right, could you open this and give me the content? Is that this simplification with cryptography is that whoever has the key owns the asset is going to make the world a different place. And we call this sort of what, distributed ledger technology, right? Oops, sorry. And you as computers don't have eyes, but if we had an unbreakable lock, you're all witnessing that if I have the key now, let's see if this works, the law of the demo, magic trick, right? So this massive simplification is in, oh, thank you, in accounting, right? I'm glad you stayed. And that's why it's called distributed ledger accounting. And accounting is the language of business, so it's going to affect you all. But the thing it really does is it lowers the cost of establishing trust. Right? As you heard, the biggest guys in Bitcoin from Phil was about all the people in manufacturing, not actually in retail, at a very different end. So as we move from supply chains to demand chains, whereby you only make something remotely or on-site once the product's sold, that's very efficient because you've got the money. But the directionality of money is going to be changing from basically pull to push. I think I missed a slide. Now, if we're to avoid this sort of big brother world, it's quite simply this. Okay, Google, meet Alexa, Siri, right? It's going to be a little sister world, right? Where basically we're going to have to implement this provable sustainability. Don't trust that that product was environmentally, did the right thing, prove it. And so again, that's what the whole Belt and Road blockchain is about. And it's talking about cryptographic certainty, but also cryptographic privacy. How can you maintain that your data goes to where you want it to go, right? That your brass eyes information, which has been scanned, whatever, goes to who you want it to go to, not anyone else. Well, that's what the benefit of using crypto is. But this bigger change, right, into this machine-to-machine economy is going to be all about data. Because machines don't have eyes. If each of you was a computer, you just witnessed this unlocking. But computers don't have eyes. So how do you actually scale trust between this network of machines? How do you scale trust with the Internet of Things? It's going to be using this tech. It's going to be using cryptography at the back end and rule of law at the front end. And this is what we call the machine-to-machine economy. For those of you who are interested, there's the IEEE event in Singapore, the World Forum on IoT. Next month we'll all be speaking on this. So this tension with this change in architecture is really all about this one thing, changing from basically pull payments to push, right? It's your data, your money, your rules. Now there are 1,000 different odd cryptocurrencies in the world as of today, but there's only 190 odd different global currencies. So the real question for you as a retailer is, what currency are you prepared to accept in exchange for your trade? What currency is your government going to accept in the payment of taxes? And if you you liberalize that a little bit more, like some people are now online accepting their own some Bitcoin payments, for example, you can also create your own currency because the software is there, assuming GitHub comes up, right? That also had a power outage at the same time. So this is really not about how to make money and how to make money from humans. It's really about how to remake money, right? Unpacking the three different store of value, unit of account, and medium of exchange, right? When the unit of account can be one of thousands. Once we unpack the notion of how do we remake money, we have to really think about who the customer is. Who are we actually selling to? Now, most today, I've basically heard the consumer, there's this assumption that we're selling to humans. And I would say, look, you're missing the opportunity. Only 10 billion of us. How is that red handbag going to transact? How much money is that red handbag going to make my wife in exchange for the data? Because I want to buy the products that make me the most money. Why? Because it's my data, my rules. That's a complete inversion. And these changes of architectures don't happen very often. So this is not really about making more money. A lot of people are interested about cryptographic currencies because of the price action, right? We had a friend here on Monday. But it's not really about price. It's about the value of having a democracy of devices where you are in control of your data, of the networks that are going to be inside your body, inside your house, right? In my house, I have Pindar coin for my IoT devices that only recognize and transact in Pindar coin in my house. I have a personal perimeter, a familial perimeter, a company perimeter, don't trust VeriFi, right? A country perimeter and an intra-country. So as the internet did for exchange of data across economies, right? Blockchain and distributed ledger technology is going to lower the cost of establishing trust across trust boundaries. And once you understand that, it's a question of where are the trust boundaries? Well, they're everywhere. So this is going to be a big deal for trust, and trust is essential for business, right? Know your customer. But to what degree does the customer have agency when it's a human? And to what degree is the AI going to have agency? So within the Belt and Road blockchain, we have basically a registered entity, legal entity. We have a name system, as others are innovating. But we also have a concept of a registered AI and registered smart contract. Why? Because AIs might go rogue, right? You saw Tane when it was trained on the internet, right? You don't train AIs on internet, they get trolled, bad stuff happens. So the question is the proof of training, which is what I mentioned on Monday, when we have these new silicon which can do both AI processing and cryptocurrency mining, is in some sense really preparing for the machine-to-machine future. So it's really your data, your rules. And this tension, I think, can be resolved because we have the rule of law and the rule of code both in Hong Kong, and you also have that here. Why? Because, again, of the political construct that you have. So this tension, I've been meditating on this symbol, right? Do you know what it is? It's Yin Yang, right? It's actually the blueprints of a design of an engine. What engine is this the blueprints of? It's the creation engine. This tension, if you put it in direct opposition, nothing happens. But when you put it tangentially, it spins. And spun coin, a coin has 3 sides, you're stable. And so what we can do now is rethink these assumptions when we are looking to this IoT world of the machine-to-machine economy. I think retail to machine is going to be much larger than people imagine, and I would encourage you to participate in this discussion. Thank you very much.